Hello, and welcome back for another edition of PentaLive from Pentalog. We're here in the war room today with David Schwarz, who is a longtime executive in the French retail sector, groceries and other things, and that's after a long and distinguished career in the French government. David's now an investor in startups and other digital companies, and he's going to be talking to us about changes in grocery and retail and how the COVID-19 lockdown has pretty much accelerated many years of changes that were in the wings. We'll be right back to you after this little bit of music. Let me try that again. Welcome to the War Room on PentaLive from Pentalog, where we're going to talk about tactics and strategies for the new world that we're all living in. Your experience has been, besides a distinguished career in government, you've been both a manager on the store floor and now an investor in the digital retail space, particularly in groceries and consumer goods. Talk to us. What is this big change that we're about to see, or that we may already be seeing?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me first, and hi everyone. There's so much I could say about what's happening, but just to start with that, it's very amazing and exciting to see that the e-commerce and the omni-channel stuff is booming again and again. I remember 10 years ago, it was just the beginning, or 15 years ago, the beginning, with a huge acceleration, then some issues, another wave, probably 5 to 10 years later. And people would start thinking it's not going to accelerate not that much anymore. E-commerce might be 10%, 20%, 5%, depending on the category. And with the COVID and with the new technologies and new innovations, we just don't know where the limit is.
And this goes, traditionally, certainly the last few years, what we were finding was that stuff that Amazon was doing a great job on things that you didn't have to touch, or occasionally with somebody like Zappos doing a great job with things you did have to touch, but because you could ship stuff back and forth, and God knows what their margins were at Zappos. But the stuff that people had to touch suddenly disappeared as well during the COVID era. Food shopping, pharmaceuticals, all kinds of other things that normally you really wanted to go into the store to select. So how is that, are people taking advantage of that? Is that a sea change in consumer habits?
We are seeing changes in consumer habits, but I wouldn't say that COVID is necessarily the key factor. It's just an accelerator, or would be so huge online, and that people would request to be delivered at home. Of course, with COVID, it was becoming obvious, or having something in between, like a click and collect, or the drive-through that we have in Europe, that is starting now also in the US. So all these options where you can order here and be delivered, or go and collect, and have many more options in terms of services and deliveries. So with the COVID, we are seeing these changes in what you buy and how you want to be delivered, or what kind of services you want to get from the retailers, and even from Amazon themselves.
So yeah, we'll get to the big 8,000-pound gorilla in the room in a few minutes. But to start with, how do retailers adapt to this? I mean, there are many retailers who said, they've been very slow to embrace the digital. They prefer people. They've already got the investment in brick and mortar. Their leases continue for years. They like the fact that customers come in and have a very physical relationship with their brand. How do retailers adapt to this? What are the tools and techniques? What's the way of thinking that has to change?
They are very different aspects. Let's look at strategies and then maybe more practical stuff. If you look at strategies, the retailers are now accelerating all of them because they are now in danger. They are feeling that if they don't change, if they don't digitize themselves, for some of them they might be out of business. The first thing is that omnichannel has always been more or less obvious now for 3, 5, 10 years. In the US, probably 5 to 10 years. In Europe, it's 3 to 5 years. But it was like a slow move. With COVID and with the current competition and the tech moving so fast, people are now absolutely aware, the retailers are absolutely aware they need to move fast. And they are doing 3 things. The first thing, they are developing faster and with less resistances, so to speak, partnerships and acquisitions. They are making retail tech, food tech, e-commerce, marketplace acquisitions or partnerships, depending on what you want to do and so on. Second change, they are going online different ways. Historically, for a retailer, it was about having my website, my e-commerce, my click and collect points. And now it's becoming more an open game, becoming a platform of dealing with other platforms. I can sell Carrefour stuff or Walmart stuff or Kroger stuff with express delivery platforms. Maybe on Amazon, it might not be so bad to sell on Amazon for some retailers, not for all of them. But if you're not a giant, if you're not a leader, maybe you should partner with Amazon or some other guys. That's one point. The second point is about change management. The biggest factor for slow change or resistances in retail is that in retail, it's about store and people. It's a store's business. It's a people's business. You don't want to change too fast. You don't want to move all your stuff, all your consumers online. You want to do that gradually, step by step. And e-commerce was not profitable, hasn't been profitable for years. Now it's becoming step by step profitable, even in food. But for retailers, it's a huge change management. And I think what's happening now is that these retailers, step by step, it took them a decade, good or bad, it took them time, that's a fact, to start invest more in technologies, to train the stores and the people, transition with their assets and with their people, and transform the stores. And now by transforming the stores, by training people, by investing more in technologies, they are becoming truly omnichannel. And that is what really new. Now, practically, it's happening in the stores. It's where you need to really adapt your stores and adapt your teams and your systems to become truly omnichannel and to master the digital world and the e-commerce.
So you talk. One of the things you talk about is you mentioned the word platform, of making your e-commerce into a platform that can include other pieces of it. You can include Instacart and your supermarket platform, and you can include some non-competitive thing like, I don't know, appliances or barbecue grills or something that you may not want to stock or even manage, but it helps sell your meat if you can sell people a barbecue grill. It's great to build a platform, but don't we kind of max out on platforms, or is that an old way of thinking? Can anybody be a platform?
Maybe not. In this tech and in this new business model world, I learned to be very cautious and to be very humble. We don't know yet who the best guys, the game changer or the winner might be, especially in retail. Okay, pure players are doing a great job, and for some of them, they are leading the game. Some retailers, especially in the US, after some issues or some lateness, are back in the game. Walmart, for instance, even Target, they don't make so much noise. I think they've been doing a great job, etc., etc. Kroger, I'm amazed by Kroger's changes. If you look at what's happening in the US with the big guys, but even smaller guys are doing great changes. Now, I think if you are a leader, if you're big, if you are a national or international player, for me, there's no question. You should become a platform. A medium size or big size platform, I don't know, but you have to be wide open to your customers, to your providers and suppliers, to offer more products, more services. And you can do that if and only if you become a platform. If you're a medium-sized or small-sized player, I think realistically, you're not going to become a huge platform, but you could become a local platform. Now, the topic might be, if I can't become a platform, or if I don't want strategically or financially speaking, I can't afford it, whatever, I should at least look at what a platform is and maybe partner with other platforms, or the ones that are making sense for me, and sell on these platforms or be visible on these platforms. It can be through products, through services, or whatever.
So if you're not one of the super large companies, how complicated is it to develop your own app? My local supermarket chain in New York City is I think there's 5 or 10 stores that belong to the family, and there's about 50 stores in the chain. They don't have their own app. They still haven't figured out how to get online. Yet it's probably hundreds of millions of dollars a year in revenue.
Not necessarily. Yeah. It's not necessarily that difficult anymore. There's good and bad news in this story. The good news is that tech and developing apps, starting a marketplace, or plugging yourself to other players is not that difficult anymore. We are now in an API world. You have some very competitive tech partners that can work for you almost anywhere in the world. And actually, you can be in the US and partner with a guy in wherever on earth, in Middle East, in Asia, in Europe. We have some good tech guys in Europe. Mm-hmm. So you're in America, you can partner with the tech companies or service providers or Pentalog or whoever, and start developing your tech ecosystem and digitize yourself. And for, let's say, a medium or small size or regional or local player in retail, your objective might not be to fight against Amazon or to be the next Amazon, but you could think about becoming the local platform. Like I'm in Florida or in any other part of the US. You could dream, and it's not a dream anymore. You could think about becoming the best Floridan platform for guys in Florida, with products from Florida and some other products and services that would come and enhance your Florida story. There's room for me for international mega platforms, and there's room for local or specialized or specialty service products or specialized services. There's a lot of room for many different kinds of platforms.
So one of the things that Amazon has that no one else really has to that same degree, and the thing that a platform brings you, is data, customer data. So this is obviously a big piece. As you move online, you can collect so much more information about your customers. Are people who are not the Amazons able to do that? Are they able to take advantage of that data? And how should they think about that data opportunity?
That's much more difficult. With my experience and as far as I can say, with let's say all the e-commerce and omnichannel technologies, even marketplace technologies, it's more and more affordable, and it's not that difficult anymore. It's always a challenge, but it's okay. Data, it's much more difficult. I think from a technological standpoint, from a process standpoint, from a legal standpoint, I think there's a gap, and there's a risk for a retailer if you are not ready to invest to have your own teams or the right partners. This is where I think retailers will have to find some good deals or strategic alliances with market players in the data world. It might be different in 5 or 10 years from now, but for the time being, I sit in Europe. I'm not that sure about the US. I haven't been looking at this aspect of the business in the US in the last 2 years, and things are changing so fast. But as far as I know, as far as I remember, I think in the data world, you'd better, as a retailer again, or as a brand, you'd better find solutions from the market, and maybe agencies. Some agencies are not that bad, specialized ones, and strong partners. Managing data, it took Amazon a decade, not to say decades, to master it.
But it's valuable for a company, though. If you can control the data about your customers, you have a better sense of the next time they visit, you can offer them exactly what your logic predicts that they're going to be looking for, right? Make extra sales. Yeah. You can do the whole affiliate sale, related product sales net of, gee, you just bought a charcoal grill and I'm going to sell you charcoal and lighter fluid and barbecuing tools and pre-marinated pork chops. Which is,
I'm not saying, but I'm not saying that retailers shouldn't invest or shouldn't control and master the data aspects and the data strategy. I'm just saying that from a technological and from a process standpoint, it's going to take time and it's significant investments. But I think in the long run, yes, retailers will and brands will master it and control it. In between, I would think about having the right partners and then take advantage of the technology and the partners from the market. And of course, you should own your data. You should understand how it works, and build on your data lake, on your data services, and it's probably the next big move for retailers to manage it properly and to take advantage of all the data that they have. The retailers, for most of them, they are data-rich companies. It's just that they don't have the technologies, they don't have the mindset, they don't have the culture, they don't have the people, they don't have all the good data scientists or the good tech guys to accelerate.
But can all this be outsourced these days? I mean, is the technology democratic enough that Main Street can compete with, Seattle or whatever city Amazon's going to be working out of next? Not New York, as it turns out.
I think there are some significant or good partners in the data world as well. We are seeing startups, agencies, even some so to speak traditional service providers now offering good services.
When we spoke earlier, you talked about the sort of cross-fertilization where grocery stores could start selling food on restaurant delivery platforms, and Grubhub could deliver your groceries, and starting to break down these barriers. And we also, which is, I guess, one area where they could grow. And the other thing that I think really upsets this market is this question of cannibalizing your own customer. You have a certain way of doing business, you know what your margins are, and people come into the grocery store, push a cart around. But when they start ordering online, your store becomes something sort of a hybrid between a warehouse and a shopping point. If you can deliver it, that accentuates that even more. And yet, how do you keep your customer, the brand value that's drawn your customer to your store in the past? How do you balance these different things? Trying to become one thing, but keep the customer for the other.
Honestly, there are various answers depending who you are and the size of your business and your product mix or product offer. Let's talk about what I really know the best and concrete or examples. In the food business, you can make a difference through the services or through your product offer. Generally speaking, it's easier, and that's what you want to do. You're starting with your product offer. If you look at the pure players, even Amazon, their product offer is not that great in some areas. If for fresh products, specialty products, they are pretty good with mainstream brands and so on. And then if you have a strong private label, look at Kroger, Walmart and all these guys, even regional players, they have strong private labels. It takes years or decades to develop a strong and reliable private label in food. So I think you can become a platform, or you can sell on Grubhub, on Uber, Deliveroo, or Glovo, or whoever. It looks like you are playing a dangerous game, but at the end of the day, it's your product offer, it's your private label, and people are coming to you or to Uber or to Deliveroo or Grubhub because they are getting the good stuff from Kroger or from Walmart and so on, or from and I don't think the pure players will be able to develop that instantly. That's one point. Another point is the portfolio of services, the choice that you can give to your consumer base as a retailer. If you tell them, as a retailer, I have stores, you can come, shop, and go back home. You can come, shop, and we deliver you. You can shop online and come and pick up. You can shop online and be delivered at home. That's a huge competitive advantage, and it's a full flexibility. Amazon won't be able to do that overnight. To build a store network, to have this flexibility, to have the teams and the systems, again, it's taking years and decades. So I think in that area, in food business, the retailers might be able to beat Amazon, or might be able to be the absolute winner with this combo of product categories, branded products and private labels, and this portfolio of services, this full flexibility. Amazon is far away from that today.
So two questions. The first one, a short one, which is, well, Amazon did buy Whole Foods. Is that working out for them this way, or do you have any insight into that?
Honestly, we at the beginning we all thought, wow, that's a great move. And then later on, recently, we thought, oh, there's nothing happening, or not that much. But at the end of the day, it's probably a great move. Whole Food being an amazing retailer, a fantastic food chain. And it's step by step something that should be working for both of them. I think for sure Whole Food is benefiting from Amazon technologies. That's already at least a huge competitive advantage for Whole Food. Now the difficulty for Amazon is obviously to become a food player. But give them maybe some more time. Unfortunately, for some retailers, it might be tricky, but I think Amazon will be able to master it. The only one thing I really believe is that Whole Food is really an upper middle class player.
Yes.
And this is where I think Amazon will be able to become a significant player in the food business. I don't expect Amazon and Whole Food to become a mass market player, and I'm quite confident the retailers will become the winner in this digital world as platforms and as mass market players in the food business.
Well, speaking of mass market players, tell me about Carrefour in China. We discussed that a little bit the last time.
Yeah.
How they made of all strange places and of all strange players, and
you mentioned
the hypermarket.
Yeah. Exactly. You mentioned the retailers partnering with express delivery platforms like Grubhub, Instacart, Deliveroo, Uber, and so on. Carrefour China could see what was 4 or 5 years ago. Could see these Chinese express delivery players booming everywhere on the WeChat app. And some also dedicated players, Meituan, Ele.me, JD Daojia, and Carrefour said, okay, today it's for the mom and pop shops, it's for the local retailers or the small food stores delivering home through these apps and through these express delivery players. And Carrefour said, we're late online. My Chinese colleagues at that time were late, a little bit late online. We have the staff, we have the products. We have the capabilities to take orders and prepare deliveries from the stores. And they said, okay, let's try it. Let's pick 1 or 2 of the players, and let's start selling food, grocery through Ele.me, Meituan, and these guys. So they pick one or two at the beginning, and it worked instantly. And later on, they decided to partner with all of them, to take the four leaders, Meituan, Ele.me, the JD, and a fourth one who disappeared, or they got merged. And step by step, they had at the beginning a dozen of stores and preparing 100 parcels a day, packages a day, and then they expanded it to, it was booming so fast, they expanded it to the 250 hypermarkets, then to additional stores. And step by step, they were able to prepare to manage 1,000 orders a day per store, and then 10,000 orders per day per store. And it became huge. And in less than 2 years, Carrefour China proportionally was bigger than almost any other country in selling online food online. It was like a huge catch up within 2 years through partnerships, through outside platforms and new services.
What did they have to do? I don't know how familiar you are with it. What did they have to? Well, I'm curious what they would have to do inside the company in order to make that kind of a shift away from traditional ways that managers were making their profits and being accountable.
It's a lot of changes because, first of all, you have to make sure that your processes and your information system can manage it. Otherwise, it's dead. Luckily, Carrefour China was quite agile, and the CEO and the teams were convinced, so they decided to move fast. Second, you need to think about all the practical aspects of the daily business. How to pick and pack the food products, what the flows and the processes will be in store. You have to think about security. You have to food security and also all kind of security aspects. So if there's really a strategic move, support from the management and a will, that works. Now. It was at the beginning a huge challenge, and people had to really agree that the whole company, from the staff on the field up to the CEO and down to the store teams, that they needed to move all together and to move fast. It's please.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's really fascinating, and they did just. Briefly, did they create their own app for this, or were they using existing things like Alibaba? Or
They did both. You know, that's what I love in the digital world. You don't know upfront what's going to work. If you can plan and test different things, fair enough. Carrefour is a big company, so for Carrefour it was possible to go and play with the WeChat ecosystem, to be on WeChat, and to be WeChat is like the WhatsApp, but for
China,
the listeners, in China, it's a fantastic mega app. Yeah. So Carrefour moved to WeChat environment, to other players, and decided to also have developed their own app. At the beginning, the Carrefour app was not booming as fast as the other players and other platforms, and now it's rebalancing. It's getting also a key channel for Carrefour to sell directly on Carrefour China app. So they had this chance, maybe this luxury to test and to develop in parallel the various options. If you are not as big or not as powerful as Carrefour, then you have to make choices, and that's everyday's life.
Well, speaking directly to that, we have a question from the audience, which is how can food retailers attract digital talent?
Wow, that's a good question.
I mean, people in the digital world, they want to be on top. They want to be doing the newest thing, making, they want to be able to tell their friends at their virtual coding bar, that they're doing the coolest thing ever. And selling, potatoes isn't always the coolest thing ever.
I might have a different view on that. I think the first thing is to show that digital tech becoming a platform is absolutely key in your strategy, and to make it obvious, to make it known. Walmart did it. It started 10 years ago with Walmart Labs, and then through acquisitions, the day Walmart acquired Jet.com, it was becoming almost cool to join Walmart because you were joining a little bit of Jet.com. So that's an option to show that digital and platformization is really key and core in your strategy. The second thing is you have to play with your advantages, and you don't need to just copy or mimic Amazon or Google or whoever. In the food business, you know what? It's quite noble, and it's a great job, and it's absolutely key. With the COVID now, it's more obvious. But a year ago, I would have said the same story. Servicing everyone with good food is a great job, and as a tech guy, I think it could be a good adventure. And for me today, there are at least two reasons, maybe dozens of reasons, but at least two good reasons as a dev or as a web designer, as a whatever, as a tech guy. There are at least two good reasons to look at food retail. First, digital and platform are really key in this world, and they are becoming a very agile environment. It's not done yet, but there's a very interesting challenges and lots of fantastic projects. And second, you are in a tech for good business at the end of the day. It's about food, it's about health, it's about everyday life. It's about making everyone happy with good food.
So let me ask you, we have another question from the audience about how the digital transformation is going to affect the layout of the physical store. I mentioned warehousing earlier, but maybe you could tell us a little more about that. You know, that's been an art for retailers for generations.
There are a few things that we can anticipate. We are quite sure, and there are many things we don't know yet. I'm sorry about saying that, but it's going to move fast. I'm pretty sure about that. Now, when people are when people shop, when you shop, when I shop, more and more we are like using whatever, a trolley, whatever. We are using a cell phone. So the cell phone is now part of the shopping attitude or the shopping journey. That's a big change. And I think the store is going to interact much more with the shopper through the phone, and the phone is going to interact with the store directly or indirectly. So that's a major change. The second change is about some more automation, at least the cash out, but maybe, I don't know, maybe promotions, maybe we've been dreaming about that. I remember the beacons as a huge innovation. Okay. At the end of the day, the beacons disappeared, but I think people want to interact with the stores. The store and the retailers, they want to interact with shoppers and consumers.
I want to know which aisle I can find, that particular brand of pizza in. I don't want to have to wander through 3 frozen food aisles looking for, I didn't know they moved organic, and fresh made away from
the cell phone and good apps will answer your expectations, will make it happen. Now, I think more than that, we might see smart shelves soon. I don't know yet where and when, but shelves with lights or colors or interacting with you, that's already feasible, but it's quite expensive. That's the challenge. Another story.
What's the advantage of a smart shelf? Sorry, I'm a little. Don't know the.
If you take a hypermarket or supermarket, there are so many products, as you said, and the layout might be changing from one week to the other. With a smart shelf, you can indicate, you can show where the promotion is, where the new product is. You can show that there's a combo, 1 + 1 means 3, or you can have some. You could show that I don't know if you don't want to. If you have some how do you say that in English? If you don't eat meat, or if you're vegan,
vegetarian or
exactly,
vegan,
you could have in smart shelves telling you, okay, this is vegan, non-vegan, this is healthy for you, not so healthy, and so on and so on. This is what I expect to happen. Today it's in apps and with your cell phone. Tomorrow it might be an interaction between you and the shelves.
So let me ask you one last question. I mean, it's really interesting that grocery stores have been among the most customer responsive of retailers forever, because if they can't sell fresh vegetables 2 days later, that stuff is dead and they are at the money. So they've always had to be extremely agile, reactive, responsive.
True.
Now that's coming through all this data that is available and apps and things, it's a lot easier to be responsive. So who are the people who are going to get rich out of this transformation? Where is the money going to flow to?
Another very good question. Obviously, the tech providers, the data players, or the cloud guys will be rich. They are already very rich, and they will be even richer. No doubt about that. For how long? I don't know. Because it might become a commodity in a few years from now to buy tech or cloud services and so on. It can change very fast. At the end of the day, I really think that in retail, it's a lot about good products, about experience, about trust or confidence, especially in food. In food, you want to be sure, you want to be sure that what you are buying is healthy, is value for money, and is also enjoyable. If food, it's about also pleasure and good stuff. But outside food, it's more or less the same story with the apparel and textile, with the home stuff and so on. At the end of the day, I truly believe, not because I've been a retailer for 15 or 17 years, but I'm not a retailer anymore. So I can really speak openly and very frankly about that. I decided to change and to be more in the tech world, but there's a paradox here. I truly believe that the retailer will be the winner in the long run, because these guys, they are really very focused, and they are experts, and they are obsessed. They are very focused on the products and the service, and for me, that's where the value is. For the time being, it's a little bit more about technologies and transformation, but the technologies are going to probably commoditize themselves, and this is a cycle. At the end of the cycle, we are going to go back to something more stable, and this is where you'll see the retailers will be the winner again.
Okay, well, David, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another edition of PentaLive. This was what we call War Room, which are strategies and tactics to survive and thrive in the new digital and complex era. David Schwarz is a interesting history from French government to the floor of retail stores, and now he's an investor in tech and digital startups. I'm Peter Green in New York. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.